People say a lot about our democracy.
It's not over. We're going to expect more.
Some say what they know.
Is it that we deceive ourselves or not willing to discuss our differences?
Others say what they think is right.
The political will to effect that law is what we are lacking.
It takes 3 persons to eat 15 naira bread. I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Immediately the president won election, he went to Britain. He has not gone to River State. He has not gone to Benue. He has not gone to this country.
Join Kingsley Wellenda Wale every Saturday on this station from 11 a.m. to 12.
My name is Kingsley Wellenda Wale.
And the program is Democracy in Action on Today 95.1 FM. But Harcourt.
I believe in you. Do you believe in me?
Good morning and welcome to Democracy. My name is Kingsley Wellenda Wale. With me this morning to do something slightly different. We'll be discussing our economy and the effect of, or rather put it this way, the survival of democracy based on economic dynamics. Ross Alabo said democracy in the Nigerian context is government of the elite by the people and for the elite. My brother and friend, Port Harcourt City lawyer, Ibroma Akpana, says the casual linkages between being drawn by Ross, especially between democracy and the standard of living, is an interesting one. Implicit in this thesis is the notion that poverty diminishes our citizenship, which imperils democracy in two distinct yet interrelated ways, by producing perverse electoral outcomes and engineering less capacity of citizens to hold elected governments accountable. In this worldview, only citizens in an enlightened and prosperous society can be entrusted with defending the democratic ethos. The first stress point for you will be placing this alongside the linkage between democracy and development. Does democracy move society towards more empowered citizens? In any event, experience teaches that even rich societies are not immune to have perverse electoral outcomes, which is in many ways a reflection of majoritarian rule, or in having dysfunctional governments with the capture of citizens' voices. Maybe the poor actually value freedom much more than economic growth and development. Think Chile under Pinochet. I'm sure we're on the same page on this. More like with the long thesis by Ibroma Akpana. What do the people prefer? Democracy or strong economy? All of it, or which one are they willing to give out? For example, where will we get to the point that the people will feel that this government is ours? We need to defend it. That's what we'll be discussing this morning and others. We have a development analyst and social commentator, Bomo Alberto Guara. Bomo, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, listeners.
And my friend, the very well, if I say Sebra, that should be taken for granted. But the very mercurial Ross Alabo George, I call him Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, listeners.
That is Philmon Doro Ajukoko. Philmon, good morning.
Good morning, and I'm glad to see Mr. Ross back on block.
Thank you. Mazino.
Good morning.
How is Ibadan this morning?
Same as usual, calm, peaceful.
Really?
Kidnaps. Good morning to everybody on the panel.
No kidnap.
Good morning.
No kidnap as we have been told about or we have heard about yet.
Well, I'm told that the Southwest has become the kidnap capital of Nigeria. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know where that information. Well, maybe other. Okay, well, maybe Ondo State, but certainly not Oyo.
Thank you, Martin. Welcome this morning.
Thank you.
Bob, I think we'll roll with you.
Yes.
What is it that the people want? What do they deserve? And are they getting what they deserve? Somebody said that we're just existing. Are we existing or we're living?
I think within the context of what we're faced with, we're existing. We're existing because we're not getting, what we actually deserve as a people from the practice of democracy. I will even go beyond that because we've just had this experience for the odd 16 years, thereabout. And for some people, you would have said, 16 years is long enough for us to get some value out of our democracy. But if I'm to go back to the thesis of Boroma, what he's saying is that there is a connect between democracy and economic development, and that is true. And within that construct, the people now need to project themselves and their needs. But what we suffer from right now in Nigeria is what I call a crisis of expectation. Because here you might have a leader who is actually deploying the resources of the state towards, generating economic value. But these same people will tell you, now you will go chop. They want money, which is the one they see on a daily basis. They don't want to see roads that endure time. It takes time to build roads, it takes time to build bridges, and so on and so forth.
Is that what they call stomach infrastructure?
That is in stomach infrastructure, and that is what is actually defining our democracy right now.
I can see Ross nodding away.
That is what is defining our democracy.
Mr. Ross, you feel that the combination of poverty and literacy only serves to make democratic leaders in these nations rulers, because the political ideology of the poor is tribalism, which was what Bobo talked about, stomach infrastructure. I mean, this is a more sophisticated way of putting it. Tribalism.
Kimani, you want to ask yourself, what is the need of a common man? What does the typical Nigerian want? We look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs. You don't find democracy. You find stuff like shelter, food. You find stuff like shelter, food, and stuff like that. And now we have a democracy that is not driven by ideology. And ideology ordinarily should be the fulcrum for political decisions and political debates and even policy. But when you have a people who are largely poor, a poor man does not think about ideology. So the first thing the poor man thinks about is survival. And just like my big brother said, they're asking you, now we go chop, simply because for them the quick win is surviving, because they must survive before they start talking about other dividends of democracy. So in that sense, the expectation of the people will be that the quality of their lives improve. And so if government at any stage is thinking, the first priority of government should be the improvement of the quality of life of citizens. And that's why, just like he said, there is a nexus between the quality of government, be it democracy or whatever kind of it, whatever it is, and economic development or economic independence.
Solomon.
Yes.
Momo and Ross are saying that within the context of the third world nations or growing, it will not even growing economy, underdeveloped nations, democracy is just a word. You agree with that? A fancy word used by the elite to continue to rule over the people.
Well, let me just restate. I think it was Ross who said it's all about human needs, and let me restate that human needs are universal. What a typical Nigerian needs is what a typical human being anywhere in the world needs.
I would appreciate if you speak up. Philemon.
Yeah, I was going to ask whether I am clear in the studio at all.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
I was saying that. Yeah, I'm saying that the human needs are universal, And what a typical Nigerian needs is what any human being anywhere in the world needs. So there is no discrepancy between what we need and what anybody needs. And we also recall that over the years, so many kinds of governments have been tried. And to a large extent, and by many accounts, people seem to agree that democracy is a better, a most effective, a most optimal platform by which those needs can be delivered. So the question is, what kind of democracy are we running? Is there a universal democracy? I don't think there is. So how do we tweak the democracy that we have in Nigeria so that we can deliver those needs to the people? I think these are the questions that are facing us. Right?
So the problem is not the word democracy, but the problem is how we interpret it and how we interpret governance.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Right.
Mazino?
Yes.
Have you always worked this part, or is it a new tendency?
I think we've always worked this path. You see, one of the aspects that I was really interested about was that we talk about poverty and hunger. And poverty and hunger, and then expecting the electorate to respond positively to governance when they cannot feed themselves. I believe that economic growth is necessary, but it's not a sufficient information. There needs to be a broad-based growth, and we have to begin to think about providing social services and infrastructure aimed at reducing and eradicating the debt of and the sovereignty of poverty and hunger across the land, because poverty has become an entity. Hunger comes from poverty, and Philemon said something. He says in Nigeria everybody has typical needs, but in Nigeria our needs seem to supersede the typical, because things that are taken for granted, for example, in other parts of the world, even as close as Ghana, we have to provide for ourselves in Nigeria. So I think we are really grappling with a very, very strong monster, and if we don't begin to think outside the box, we're not really going to get anywhere far. I was reading something on the thread earlier on this morning, and somebody was saying that every citizen has a responsibility towards making this effort work. It is true, but the truth of the matter is that our contributions are limited because we do not have the power to carry them through more often than not. We can impact in our immediate communities and in our vicinities, but we can't really impact on a national level the way in which our leaders can. So what we do is the kind of thing we're doing, and we have to continue to press and push and make sure that they are listening to what we are saying. But personally, I think we also have to begin to look at Nigerian type of democracy. I'm not saying we should negate human rights, freedom of association, and all that, but we can't be thinking the World Bank should not have prescriptions for everybody. We have to generate our own thought processes. We have to begin to do what I call creative governance that is mainly suited to the people of Nigeria. It may have similarities to that of the Western world, but it should be indigenous. It should be peculiar rather to our own peculiar circumstances. When I was in a little bit of something earlier on today, and somebody was saying that a friend of his went to Canada. Within 2 years, she had gotten a good job security, food security, everything is on board. So the guy was saying, I hope you are praying. And the guy answered, look, I don't have to pray the way I used to pray in Nigeria any longer, because the basic things have been taken care of by the government. So all I have to do is to walk into the vision of the government and actualize my own aspirations within that bigger picture, and all my aspirations will eventually be met.
So it's all about you trying to work within the space that's available, that's been created already, rather than some miracle or manna falling from above.
Well, in our own case now, we cannot take it for granted. So we have to create, also help to create an enabling environment, but also make those that are responsible for creating what we call the basic things aware that they have a job to do.
Okay.
That's my take.
Mr. Ross, let me just tell you, somebody sent in something, and it says Nigeria is 1.5 days into 7-day antibiotics course.
Well, I really understand what he means by that, but obviously the
Let me repeat it again. You probably
cause of action.
It says Nigeria is 1.5 and a half days into a 7-day antibiotics course, which to me probably means that we're beginning to solve the problems.
Well,
are we solving the problem?
Well, I don't think a 7-day course is enough for Nigeria, because all disease is chronic. When something is chronic, it simply means that it has prolonged for too long. And so you may want to try a serious heavy dosage. So it's not just about how well the medicine is working, it's how well the people are responding to that particular antibiotic. Some diseases are stubborn. Some viruses and microorganisms are actually really stubborn, and they don't seem to go away. I was listening to Father Kuka during the platform events in Lagos. Yes, and he said something really important that every Nigerian should actually think about. He examines the cool speeches of our leaders from 1966
from the Zogu
till today, and the issues that they kept talking about were all the same thing: corruption, insensitivity of the elites and stuffs like that. And he said that in 1983 or 1985, when Brigadier Abacha was reading the coup speech, Brigadier Abacha also talked about civil servants not having been paid for 8 months, which is just the same situation.
20 years down the line, we're still battling with payment of salaries.
We're still battling with the stuff.
Something must be wrong with us.
And he said something that was really significant. He mentioned that General Buhari actually was fighting for the people. He was fighting corruption, in 1983, 1984. But that when General Buhari was toppled, that there was no Nigerian on the streets.
Precisely.
So why should there be Nigerians on the street? This is the issue that we're talking about. That Nigerians have become docile, and that the survivalist approach to viewing...
Are you saying they don't even know what is good for them?
It's not like they don't know what is good for them.
Yeah, because if you follow the argument by Bishop Kuka, it was that General Buhari was for them, he was fighting corruption, and corruption fought back and threw him out of work. And Nigerians didn't say a word.
It's poverty.
They don't know what they want. Momo,
I don't think so.
But what? What do you think?
If I go by that analogy, you're taking antibiotics when what you need is a surgical operation, right down to the bone of the superstructure of Nigeria. You need surgical removal of some of these things. If you have issues of salary non-payment in 2015 and you had the same back there in the 70s, that means that you are being superficial. You're dealing with just the symptoms rather than the cause. So we need to get that fundamentally right. We need to go down. I raised this issue way back, I think sometime last month or thereabout, that we must deal with the superstructure of the Nigerian Foundation. For now, everything that every positional leader has done is just transaction. Every president has been transacting.
So we're having a bundle of
I
transactional
give you a typical
leaders.
example. The NNPC, fine, has a very, very critical role to play in the economy. But I look at the NNPC like a proverbial grazing field that is available to everybody. And it now raises the issue of the prisoner's dilemma. Because everybody goes to
What's
the
the
field.
prisoner's dilemma? I've never been to prison before. I don't know about Mr. Ross.
It's like the zero-sum, basically the zero-sum game thing. Everybody goes to the grazing field with his cattle, his or her cattle. You graze and walk away. And most of the times you graze the better portion of the field. Nobody worries about replenishing the grass. So you have a tragedy of the common. That is what we're faced with. And to deal with it, you must begin to talk about how you reward. That's politics that is value-driven. Value-driven in the sense that you must compensate those that work and work hard. You must compensate those that have skills. You must compensate those that have talent. This system doesn't reward talent. It doesn't reward skills. It all rewards your accident of birth, the religion that you practice,
And network.
and network. The system cannot survive when you are driven by considerations like this. So those tablets don't mean anything.
Parliament.
Need surgery.
We lost him there. Mazino,
Yes.
you heard Bomo. He said that prescribing antibiotics for Nigeria it's waste of scarce resources. That rather what Nigeria needs is a surgeon who will come and perform the necessary surgery that will address the superstructure of the Nigerian state.
Yes.
And in the last couple of months, some people have been talking as if General Buhari is supposed to. Do you think he's a pretender, or he's the possible surgeon, or he has the capacity of laying down the foundation? Because sometimes what you see tends to suggest that he's probably under pretender.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to analyze. One would like to see him as having the necessary tools, the scalpel, to perform the surgery that is needed. But at the same time, he's still surrounded by some people of questionable character. He still has to contend with institutions that are peopled by people of questionable character. So it's a very...
Let me interrupt you there, Mazino.
Yeah.
A surgeon who comes to perform surgery with quack nurses, is he a surgeon?
With a sharp nozzle.
With quack nurses.
I didn't get that, sorry.
A surgeon, supposedly qualified surgeon, comes to your place, or you go to his clinic, and you know that the nurses people that he's operating as nurses are quacks. Will you allow yourself to be subjected to that surgery?
I will, that is the thing. I will probably reject the surgery. But then I will also feel that I have a responsibility to myself and maybe to the surgeon, and to encourage him to get rid of these quacks. If you are going to pay better quality nurses, take them and bring them so that your practice does not suffer. The General Buhari's whole table is the nation is his table, his operating table. So he has to be looking very incisively into the ways in which he can make an impact in these next 4 years. And let's understand, it's not guaranteed 8 years. He has only 4 years. You know. Now the problem is that somebody spoke about the issues with Abacha and non-salary payment and so on. You see, all these things, they come in cycles. But we haven't seemed to understand that there is a process through which we can address this situation. We have to have this situation of prevention, remediation, and then sustainability, and then go back to prevention again before the symptoms even begin to show, so that we save ourselves all this sometimes unnecessary spending on the same cycle of things. But unfortunately, somebody used a very good term there. He said we've had a leadership of transacting leaders who don't just transact. They don't implement policy. Even when they implement policy, they don't see it through. So the impact of governance is not felt. And see, in Nigeria, I believe that a friend of mine says that democracy is from the enlightened mind. Now, when we consider the level of literacy we contend with on a daily basis and the amount of hunger, how many people are going to comprehend the things that are being done? So the things that are being done should be done in such a decisive and impactful way as to be able to let the common man know that there's someone somewhere up there who has my back, who is thinking about my progress, the progress of my children. Thus far, we have not had that kind of approach.
Good.
Right now, as we speak, I think we have spent too much time in one gear. We should have moved to the next level. That's why I'm eager to see ministers in place. I'm eager to see chairmen of hospitals, and I'm also eager to see the direction in which the president is really going. Because I am not yet 100% convinced that he has the right tools for the job at hand. I hope and pray that I am proved wrong. But right now, I'm a bit shaky on that basis.
Mr. Ross.
I want to be proved wrong.
Mr. Ross.
Well,
Mazino says he wants to be proved wrong. That
Mazino has to be patient. I understand that the supplementary list is actually on the way.
We've not even seen the first. Talk about supplementary list. What's wrong with you, Ross?
No, I mean, we've got a peep into the first list, and the first list looks like a campaign organizing committee. We're hoping that the technocrats will be in the supplementary list. You know, usually when you're in the university or you're a jambite, the supplementary list is always the most expected. You know, but looking at it critically.
Okay, just an aside.
Yes.
Why would you look forward to supplementary list in the university?
You know, the first list is the merit list. All right? The first list is the merit list. And usually...
Now you're sounding contradictory. The first list is a merit list.
Is the merit list.
So the supplementary list that is coming now after Tuesday is the one that you're believing will be the ones that will deliver?
The first list, and that is the crazy part of our politics.
Okay, it's reversed.
The first list is supposed to be the merit list. All right, in the university, you beat the cutoff point, then you make the merit list. But in our politics, the reverse is the case, and that's why I keep making the case that the people are not participating. The people are not participating in the 16th century in Europe. Why the feudal lords? Why did they come? They came because the rulers felt that, look, for us to get in touch with the people, the proletariats, we needed to give those powerful lords lands. And now the proletariats farm on the lands under the leadership of the lords, and the lords were reporting directly to the rulers. So the monarchy was not directly connecting with the people. The monarchy was connecting with the feudal lords, and then the feudal lords with the people. So during times of war, the feudal lords coordinate, for battle. And that's the same situation we're having in the country. The people are not participating. If you look at the structure of our politics, we have situations where the parties are built around individuals who have the war chest, the financial war chest, to pay to
buy the conscience,
to buy the votes,
buy the conscience,
and buy the conscience. So when the people cannot connect directly to government and will have to go through political feudalists who transacts with the leadership on their behalf, then that's where the disconnect comes from.
Okay, the middlemen.
You can call them political middlemen. That's where the disconnect comes from. So you discover that in a region, for instance, somebody is nominating the ministers for the president. And that's what happens. And if you do not, as the president, accept that merit list that feudal lord is given to you, it means that you stand a chance of losing the votes in that area. And it has become that way because our people do not vote by manifestos. Our people vote where the feudal lords tell them to move.
No.
And so in every area we have the political heavyweights, and that's how we predict. Because I do big data analytics, and that's how we predict how people are going to win elections. If, for instance, a particular local government, I know that this guy is the big dog in that local government, it is clear that his direction points because the people follow him.
He's going to dictate the terms of endearment.
And Reverend Father Cooker said that. He said that some corrupt people are actually good. And so for the people at the grassroots, it doesn't matter how corrupt that guy is. The fact that he brings the dividends of democracy closer to them, they follow us. These are the issues.
Bobo.
And what is it?
You are the one who brought the transactional leadership issue here.
Yes, it's again my favorite word.
Transactional leadership.
You layer and you keep layering and layering and layering. It gets us nowhere. The economy is on auto drive, autopilot. It's been on autopilot for 4 months. You are still coming out with supplementary lists for ministers. Unfortunately, because this economy is not metric driven. Right now, you don't have an idea of even the data, the economic data, all the indices, unemployment, whatever. You don't have it.
So how do you expect to find out what we don't even know how many people are in this
precisely.
country?
So that is the problem. Now, if we subject this economy to metrics, you'll find we're in dire straits. There's no minister. The CBN is just being in the forest, trying to, monetize the economy. The fiscal policy end of it is not coming in to actually aid the CBN's effort. And that's where we are. Your tax, which is supposed to actually, contribute a large chunk to the economy, is not actually doing the work because a larger part of the population is not in the tax net. So when your oil goes down,
we go down.
You go down. So these are the policy measures
when
that
our oil go down, we go down. When our oil goes up, we stay down.
We stay down. So subjective objectivity.
The program this morning is dealing with our economy and our democracy. What do the people really want? What do they deserve? Are they getting what they deserve? Are they getting what they want? Or just what the people at the top, like Ross said, the government of the elite, they're shoving down our throats what they think we need, and we have to stay there with that. Like we just concluded, our economy is not even anything you can define with modern language. You can't define it. So you just say when the economy goes down, we go down. When it goes down, when it goes up, we stay down. You can join the discussion this morning, Democracy in Action, with Bom Albert Ogwara, Ross Alabo George, Mazino Ikime. You can join by calling on 0815 5951951, 0817 000, that's 000951, 0810 9510951, or you can send your text messages to 0701 933 9962. The program is Democracy in Action. Well, there must be a way out. Something has to give.
Exactly.
Is it from the people? Because when he talked about what Father Kuka said, he said that when General Buhari came as military leader and he was thrown away, Nigerians didn't say anything. But is it about the people consciousness being built over principles, or you drive some level of discipline out of fear, so the people never feel that they're part of the system? So why do they defend what they don't own? Is that not what the problem is? We are refusing to defend what we don't own.
Because they're not participating.
How do we buy in? We need to buy into the project.
Well, you need to buy in. Like Ross said, our politics is top bottom. Whereas in the other societies, at least that have advanced in democracy, it's always from the bottom up. The closest that we have had was under Awolowo, when the UPN, took the party to the people. I was a member, so I
was going to suggest that, because the way you said that with all amount of your shoulder was like
every month you contribute.
Where you're coming from?
Yes, party dues.
Okay.
You pay.
So yes,
you
are a stakeholder.
You are a stakeholder.
But in the present circumstance, some big man pays to everybody.
That is what Ross said, and it's rightly so. The big man, the top dog in one enclave, decides the future of the enclave and all that.
Party.
Exactly. So you need to take the party back to the grassroots, the ownership. You'll be told to go and register at your ward level, to become a member at the ward level before you even aspire to be president. But the moment you become the presidential candidate, you disconnect from the ward level and you begin to operate with the top dogs and stuff like that. So the parties must return their parties to the people. And then the civil societies must be up and running. And then, of course,
for me, I think that's the most transnational segment of Nigeria, the civil society group.
Well, they have. For now, they have. Seasonal. But we are being prescriptive now, because you asked us to be prescriptive. So I'm being prescriptive. The civil society is one of the 7 men of democracy, so to say. The press, a free press, is another. And then the judiciary, the framework of the judiciary, which includes the lawyers and the judiciary and all that, working hand in hand with these other 2. And then the political parties actually generating the ideas that should propel in the people and encourage ownership of the democratic process. So at the end of the day, in the absence of this, the citizenry is left to either flounder or to take up the gauntlet and decide to own it themselves, like it has happened in some societies where this thing is spontaneous against a despotism. They just pour to the streets, yes, and claim ownership of it before somebody
will wake up. Of using the word revolution, you just say claim ownership. You're scared of
we're in a democracy.
So what is wrong with revolution? Democracy.
Let us use the language of democracy. Inclusiveness.
Okay.
Revolution is exclusive.
Really?
Civil insurgents.
Are you too scared of using the word revolution? Does revolution necessarily mean violent change of system?
Not really.
No, revolution does not necessarily mean violence. It means a change.
A drastic change.
Yes, and if we find ourselves, somebody said, you were the one who said, how can we buy into the system or buy into the process? Now, my own belief is that you cannot buy something that's not up for sale. So, as they did in the years of the UPN, the party came very close down to the grassroots, and people were actually participating. But once a disconnect starts to set in, we themselves. I mean, we've had a few examples in Nigeria where, for example, fuel price increase. People were not violent, but we went out into the streets and we caused government to take a second look at that policy, which we felt was indicative of the existence of the common man.
Okay.
And we may be forced to do that again. I am not wanting to preempt the government of the day. I mean, it's a very young government, but I'm scared because of the rot that has set it from way back to the 1960s, not just from Jonathan or Basoegi or Yar'Adua.
So not be today.
It's an endemic problem.
So not be today.
Not be today at all. It has been happening forever.
Okay.
Now we have to get to a place where, in the computer world, they have something called debugging. That means it's a problem. It's a problem-solving technique. But in order to do it, we as citizens are going to have to bear some pain. But we will only bear that pain with equanimity if we see that pain is also being borne by the people at the top. Because you cannot be telling me to suffer and share the weight while you are going fat and robust up there at the top.
Okay, what you're saying, Zeno, what you're saying is that you can't ask me to tighten my belt while you're wearing a body all over the whole place.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what has been happening.
Okay, I want to hear from the people now. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I just tell the topic of today you people are discussing there.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from first, please.
Okay, my name is Gus. I'm calling from Aba.
Okay.
You see, this topic now, are you sure this topic is not to provoke the masses? Because we don't even know what is happening at the government to. Because at the first it says democracy for the people, by the people. And you mention it like that, but we masses are don't even say anything like that. It's only the politicians and those people that are enjoying everything. So I don't know.
Well, thank you, sir. Somebody here is just nodding away because he said he defined Nigerian democracy as democracy, government of the people, for the government of the elite, by the elite, by the people and for the elite. Yeah. Okay. We have somebody here. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Oguso Daimancho.
Okay. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm doing good. First, let me make you people laugh. Let me just share a philosophy of Honorable Oguso Daimancho. Look, let me go. You see, one of the philosophies is this: when correct hunger beats a man, the sense of objective judgment becomes flawed. And from that moment, he can dance to the winds and caprices of the diamond. Okay? And when we look at what is happening in Nigeria, I worry that it will be very difficult for us to have the ideal individual to lead. The quality of leadership is critical. And democracy really thrives in an environment where the majority of the people are poor and thus they are vulnerable. I very much doubt it. One of your guests there talked about Obafemi Awolowo. I thought that, I still think that he probably would have been one of the best leaders in this country. But the system we have is such that we couldn't possibly get the best out of the contestants. It's basically whoever is able to wield influence by way of money, by way of manipulating the people, And even when we trace, our history back from the moment of independence, I honestly think that where we got it wrong was from the moment the military boys came in. But why did they come in? If the politicians had done their job well, do you really think that the military boys would have been able to come in? I doubt it. And unfortunately, when they came in, I don't think they were actually prepared to govern civilians. I don't even think that they were even, prepared as in leading civilians. It was purely a military thing. And then so many mistakes were made. And even when the politicians came in, they repeated the same problems that during the best public defense has always been like that. But how do we move forward? I honestly think that our academicians, the political scientists, should begin to brainstorm how do we develop a system that will be able to throw up the best in terms of competence. Let me tell you something. For one, demonstrating that he or she has capacity does not necessarily imply that the person is competent. And so we need to come up with a system that is such that it will be able to throw up individuals that are competent. We are all talking about, ministers and all that. Yes, we have some, they have degrees. And are they going to perform? And will tell. Thank you.
Well, you all heard about the theory of Mugufall guy work, right? That's exactly what Ross was talking about when we have middlemen who transact on behalf of everybody, on behalf of the people at the top and the people down there. But somebody says that, I think Onene Otila Obele Oshoku says there's much work to be done. Let each face and mind their assigned bit, and we'll all be amazed at what the summation will amount to. We seem to have this illusion that there's someone or some people somewhere. Everybody's effort adds up.
That's true. Change actually starts from the bottom, and in that direction, I keep using the word participation. Just like my big brother said, if once people are excluded from economic participation, once you are independent, you're an independent nation, but the citizens are not economically independent, you are blocking off a whole lot of people from the tax net. One major area where citizens participate in governance is by tax payments, because they become stakeholders when they pay their tax. And that's why in America,
I'm sure wherever she is now be nodding
oh yeah, and that's why when people pay their tax, they get offended, okay, that their streets are not
their money
paid.
is being,
and that's why you see people get angry because they are stakeholders and they are paying their tax. And in this country, we have an issue where our revenue is mostly from the resources that we have underneath, and we're not even taking advantage of what we call our comparative advantage. Areas where we have manpower, we have land, but agriculture remains the biggest chunk of our GDP, but it also remains an area where we collect the least tax from. So it means that the taxes are actually coming from just a little segment of the people. And so the citizens are not stakeholders because they are not participating in this practice of governance. And that's why in areas like America, you hear taxpayers' money.
You can't mess with my taxpayers' money.
You know, in Nigeria, you can't really use the word taxpayers' money
because we don't pay tax.
Because the bulk of the active citizens, the bulk of the people that can cause change and move and cause that aggressive change
are not angry enough.
They're either unemployed or underemployed or just not producing. So in that sense, we still get back to this aspect of poverty and the people not participating. So they are very relaxed. So when somebody is actually stealing in office, you don't care because it's everybody's money. You know, like they say, government money is everybody's money.
More like what belongs to nobody.
That's just what it is.
Does it got to do with I belong to nobody and I belong to everybody?
Not really. That's the tragedy of the common I'm talking about, because the grazing field belongs to nobody.
Okay. Hello? 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 Philemon? Once again, it's gone. Yeah, but we can continue.
So, just to add to what Rosa said,
sorry, Philemon is back. Hello, Philemon.
Okay. Yes, the reception has been terribly bad.
I don't want to know about that. You live in one hamlet, and that's a problem. Get out and come to the city. Come on, try and connect with Ross. Try and connect with Mr. Ross. He will get you somewhere more recent to stay, where you will live with civilization and won't have issues with communication.
Where is he calling from? He's calling from
Calling somewhere around here.
Or Dara, or I think he's calling from Dara.
He won't be calling for Dara. Dara is very close to civilization now.
Unfortunately, I'm somewhere in this villa right now, but because democracy has not yielded any dividend, we are having this problem of calling into radio stations. It makes me so sad. It makes me really, really sad. And the antibiotics is not working. Maybe we don't actually need surgery. What we need is to change the medication.
Amputation.
Because if you look at the books, you will find that all the solutions to the problems of this country are there in the archives. We can't keep going round and round. Can we just sit down and do one thing and do it right? We can't get telecommunication right. It's been how many years? Since 1990 something. We can't get it right. And somebody is up there in NCC or whatever the name is, not paying attention to the problems we are having, that we can't talk to each other.
So what do we do? Falabo, what do we do? You're just complaining. What do we do?
Yes. What do we do? What do we do? We need, Nene said something, that each of us should be doing what we ought to do. I agree with that. But you see, we are in a vehicle, and in a vehicle, there is a driver and there is a conductor. It is not for me to dictate what Nigeria should do.
The kind of cars the kind of cars I get into, I don't have conductor. I don't. So it's important to make this clarification so that we know. Because Ross is at loss when he said we have the driver, we have conductor. What does that mean?
He was trying to paint a picture.
You are sharing the same space with Ross Alabo George and the other people in the street. Those of us who are in Yanya, we know what a conductor is, we know what a driver is, and we know there's a distinction.
Okay, you can go ahead.
But talking seriously, it is the man who is at the top that determines where this country should be. And then all of us will now play our role. I, for instance, cannot say, okay, Nigeria needs to be here or there in 2019, and this is what I will do to make it happen. No, it doesn't happen like that. When people offer themselves for election, they are saying, hello guys, we think we have an idea of where this country should be, and we will take the lead. And now you listen to us, we will tell you what to do, but if we need your ideas, well, we can call it to the table, and then we talk, and then we agree, and then we move forward. What we have now is that those who are getting into government don't even have an idea. When I hear some governors talk, I fall and laugh and just hurt myself.
You fall and laugh. That means you enjoy what you're saying.
Oh yes, I enjoy, but it is painful. It is painful.
Why should something that you enjoy be painful?
Oh, it is. When you laugh too hard, it causes you pain. We are in 2015, and like somebody said, he was quoting Reverend Cooker, we are still saying the same thing. At some point, I'm even fed up. Should I even join a radio station like this, Democracy in Action, and be talking? What is the essence of what we are saying? Who is listening?
Okay, don't give up. Don't give up. Bomo.
You'll be shocked.
Philemon is about giving up.
Philemon, do not give up. Do not give up, because this race is for the long haul. Democracy does not come cheap. So does the alternative to democracy. You know what it is.
True.
You'll be seeing boats heading up to Europe, Austrian border. That is the alternative to democracy.
No, Philemon can't survive any such things. There's an option. So, have you seen him? He's thin. He's very thin.
I will swim through shit to get to Austria. I would rather go there.
What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for people like you to make up your mind whether you want to make Nigeria a good country or not. Those of you who are the elite.
Please, can we just go on? I mean, this man is a problem. Yeah.
So,
hello. Okay, sorry.
Okay, we must keep working at it. We must keep faith with democracy. It's a long haul, but the basic thing is that the pillars, or the 7 men plus 1, the plus 1 being leadership of democracy, must be worked at. We must keep faith, and I'm happy that something happened March 28th. The people patiently waited and decided to exercise their franchise to change things, and that's the way to go.
Well,
Mr. Ross,
someone used the word debugging, and I got interested because
I know we're going to get interested.
When you're debugging an application, the first thing you want to identify is the problem, and until you identify where the bug is, you really cannot debug. And so I think that in discussing these issues, we are having a conversation so that we can actually identify what the issues are with our nation and what the issues are with our politics. I think democracy is good. And if you look at the statistics economically, in 1960, our GDP or income per capita was about $400. In 1966, it was about $660. In 2014, our GDP rose astronomically from 1999 to 2014, and we have a GDP of $1,091. How does that affect the quality of life of the common citizen? Well, that is yet to be seen. We're not talking about employment. How many of our youth are employed? We're seeing criminality and crime rising, and there's a direct nexus between the crime rates that we see in society and the quality of life of the people. And so we celebrate independence. The nation is independent, fine. But are the states independent? Do we have fiscal federalism? Are the people economically independent? That's what independence should be. Because when I was reading what Kwame Nkrumah was talking about when he was arguing for an African Union, and when Libya, Gaddafi came to sell, the idea of an African Union to Obasanjo and South Africa. The whole idea was that let us be self-sustaining
as a continent.
Because the more we can be independent, but independent does not fully come when you're not economically independent.
Yeah.
And so this is why the economy of this country must improve. And as we've seen, my big brother has just said that we've seen an economy of autopilot. I don't even think the economy is on autopilot. I think that government has been shut down. Because when you don't have a cabinet, when you don't have a federal executive council, you don't have a government. And that's why it takes 1 week, in Europe, the countries tell you take 1 week to set up a government. And if you can't form a government, you form an alliance with other people to form a government. But in this country, we waited for 120 days and we're waiting for a ministerial list. That's not how government works.
Marcelo?
Yes, sir.
120 days as against 1 week in most part of Europe. Does that give you any reason to be comfortable that there's hope? Or there's the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, in the past 3-4 months, I've been trying to become a more spiritual man, in the sense that I've been trying to relate spiritual things to how they affect us physically. And one of the things I have learned is patience and perseverance. Because, for example, if anyone was saying he's ready to swim across the ocean to Austria and so on and so forth. But you see, we can't do too much about last year or the year before, but we can decide to do something about tomorrow. Back to your original question, I think that 130 days or 103 days is too much time to choose a cabinet. I don't know what the whole thing is about. See, why I was saying to some people, when you are campaigning for office and government, you must have a game plan. And as soon as you are sworn in, that game plan should come into place.
So in summary, you're saying that this government came in without a game plan?
I think they came in with a very, very I think their only game plan was to win the election.
Okay.
That's what it's looking like to me every day.
Okay, say bye to us. Your last words.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just say this. We have to I don't even know what my last words would be, because today's program was very short. What I would say is we reap the full harvest of the good only if we persevere. The evil comes harvest on its own, and a lot of evil has been sown. So it's going to take some time. Let's just keep our hands to the plow and see how far we'll go. Let's not give up.
Thank you. Philemon, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I think we will have to wait for 150 days. There are some ministries that will always be there. Ministry of Western Affairs, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Defense. These are ministries that must remain there. So why couldn't we even start with those ones? Why do we have to wait? And now that we have the list, and these people we know, and have it picked from heaven? They're not. They are not been there. So what have we been waiting for?
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we go, let me quickly read text messages from Emmanuel. Democracy and ideology, as an ideology, is still nascent. Nigerians are yet to understand how democratic ethics take care of their interests. IAG says, you ask, what do you want? What do you want? We want true federalism. We want to take our destiny in our hands, not anybody telling us what our destiny should be. Thank you, Bomo, for coming. Ross,
it's my pleasure once again.
And Philemon, thank you very much. Once more, my name is Kingsley Wale. You have a wonderful afternoon and weekend. God bless you and bye-bye.